Let's look at a practical example of how to build skills for agents and then make them available to Claude Code so it can use those skills for unseen packages and coding frameworks. Anthropic released agent skills or Claude skills a few days ago, and in my personal opinion, they are probably more important than model context protocol. Okay, so we're going to try to implement a full stack app with front end and working back end, including user authentication. So here's a quick overview. There is going to be a Next.js front end. Then we are going to use Clerk to authenticate users. They will be able to log in using their Gmail account. More on Clerk later in the video. And once individual users are able to log in, then we're going to use the agent development kit to provide answers. All of this is going to be implemented using a custom skill that we're going to provide to Claude. Now, this is different than something like subagent or MCP because you progressively load the information that you need. You don't just dump in all of the tools or subagent context into the context window. It's just like how humans read a documentation for new packages or new tools. I created a dedicated video on this, so if you haven't seen, I highly recommend to watch that. As an example, we're going to look at agent development kit. So we're going to provide the documentation of this multi-agent framework to Claude in the form of a skill, and then we're going to use that to build a multi-agent system for us. So this is going to be very different than something like Context 7 MCP, which can look for the latest documentation of different packages. Because here, Claude Code will be actually able to understand how to use ADK, not only just look at different tools that are available. Claude already comes with a number of different skills, but there is a one skill creator skill where you can just provide documentation about something and then it will create that specific skill for you. So in case of ADK, I downloaded all this documentation and just grouped them into a zip file. So here I provided that zip file and then told it this is the documentation of ADK with a little bit of context. And then I said, just create a skill for this so that the agent is able to use ADK. So then it went ahead, looked at what is within that zip file. I tried to understand the structure. These are basically mostly HTML files. And then it used its own skill creator skill to start creating a new skill for us. So this process can take some time, but at the end, it gives you a zip file that is going to contain this new skill and also explanation of what exactly is in there. So there is a skill.md file, which provides a quick start guide for Python and Java, different core concepts. Then there are reference files. So these are built on top of the documentation that was provided. And now the beauty is that if Claude needs to implement something, it will use a hierarchical approach to only look for things that are relevant to a specific implementation. There are also some example files as well that implements different features within ADK. And here's actually the main structure of how the skill looks like. So at the core, there's skill.md file, then you have the references, development, and different examples. Next, we're going to just download this zip file. Okay, so I'm in Cursor right now. I'm going to just create Claude folder. Actually, let me rename this. So within this, we need to create another folder, and this is going to be called skills. Now you can have multiple different skills within the same project. Okay, and I copied that folder. So if you look at the skill.md, again, it has the initial description, then a quick start guide that Claude implemented for us. And then we can look at the different references. Here are a few examples as well. Right, so you have very detailed documentation of how to use ADK. So next we're going to use Claude Code to build something with this new skill. And I personally like Warp terminal, so I'm going to be using that. So let's first update Claude Code. Okay, and I like to use this in YOLO mode. So in this example, we're going to use ADK to build a multi-agent framework for a customer support agent. We are going to use Clerk for authentication. So every customer support representative is going to have their own set of agents that they can log in and use. Help me create a multi-agent system for customer support. This is supposed to be a customer support system for an e-commerce website. Create dummy data sets that we can interact with. Customers should be able to look up different product prices for those products. They should be also able to return products that they have purchased and also inquire about status of their products or orders. So look at the documentation of the new ADK skill that I have provided, and based on that, create a multi-agent framework for us. Okay, so this is real-time transcription based on the speech-to-text system that I have created. If you're interested, details are in the description below. Okay, so I think I'm happy with this, but let's add some more details here. Use both parallel and sequential agents, and I'm going to be using the ADK UI, but later on we will need to create a custom UI where different customer support agents can log in with their accounts and use this system. Okay, so I think I'm happy here. Let's send this in. Okay, so the first thing is it actually looks at the Google ADK skill. Now it says, now I understand the ADK framework. Let me create comprehensive multi-agent support, customer support system with datasets, parallel and sequential agents, and proper ADK UI configurations, right? So I'm going to let it cook for a while, and we're going to come back and look at what it has implemented. So the initial implementation is complete. It did run into a few issues, specifically with the API configurations. So I had a back and forth with the model, and seems like it's able to correct that. So now we're using the Gemini SDK without relying on Google Cloud Vertex AI. Also, I asked it to update the model to Gemini 2.5 Flash. So at the moment, there are 14 different tools that are available to the agent. And let's see what the underlying data is. And then I'm going to show you a quick demo of how the agent is currently working. Okay, so this is the skill that we were using. Here, it created a customer support agent. This is, I think, the different tools that it implemented for that agent. And if we look at the actual customer support data, so here are different customers that it created. We also have some orders. So this is an example of dummy database that is going to be available to a customer support agent. Okay, so here's the ADK interface. Right now we only have that one customer support agent. I think it decided to just implement a single agent with multiple different tools because that was able to fulfill our initial requirements. So let's ask it questions. Can you look up what different headphones we currently have available? Okay, so I'm happy with the transcription. Now it's using the search tool, and right now it found the headphones, how many units are there in stock, right? And we can actually, I think, look at this. So basically it tried to use the search tool to find the items. Can you find a customer named Michael and tell me what order did they place? What was the total amount? Okay, so I think I'm happy here. Let's see what it does. So now it's trying to find out a customer by name Michael. So here is the customer name. Here's the total amount. We shipped something. Okay, now we're going to ask more complex questions. Can you look up what type of SSDs we have? What are their current pricing? And can you see if any customers have ordered them before? Okay, so let's see. Right now it's looking for product search. Okay, so it's able to find those. I can search order by customer name and retrieve all the other specific IDs, right? So I think we'll need to create more tools where it's able to also look at orders by items, not only the customer IDs. So as you can see, it was pretty neat that we were able to create a skill, and using that skill, Claude is now able to use ADK and build agentic systems. Next, we're going to add authentication to our app where different customer support representatives can log in their own accounts. And for this, we're going to be using Clerk, which is an excellent platform for providing authentication and user management services. And they are also making this video possible through their kind sponsorship. They have a generous free tier that you can get started. So first, just create an account on the platform. Now, if I go to my dashboard, I have one app already running, but we'll just need to create another app. Here, decide what exactly you want the options for signing in to the app. So right now I have email and Google, but there are a whole bunch of other options that you can select from. And you can provide the app name. So let's call it Agent V2. This is how it's going to look like on the UI. So we're going to create an app. Once the app is created, you will need to copy your API keys. We already have a .env file, so we're going to just copy these keys there. Now, the great thing is that they actually have this very nice prompt that you can copy. So let me copy this. And if we paste this prompt into a Google Doc, you can see all the instructions that are going to be provided. So this is going to make integration with the Next.js app possible. It has all the instructions of what to do, what not to do, right? So very similar to the custom skill that we created, but here we have proper documentation from Clerk in order to implement this integration. Okay, so we're going to go back to Claude code and then paste in all the instructions that we have and let Claude code cook again. Okay, so now it's asking me whether to integrate that within the Next.js app. I actually implemented Next.js app, so we're going to say yes, and we're going to come back when the implementation is finished. Okay, the implementation is finished. I had some back and forth with Claude. We had to modify the way the API was implemented for ADK, but now everything seems to be working. So let me show you a quick demo of how this looks like. Okay, so here's the final implementation by the system. So this is supposed to be an interface used by human customer support representatives, where the AI is going to help them retrieve information. This is powered by Google ADK, and the authentication is provided by Clerk, which is an excellent platform because it makes it very easy. You don't really have to worry about user management and authentication. It also is able to integrate with something like Supabase, so makes it extremely easy, right? Now we're going to use Google to log in, but you can also use a custom email in here. So I'm going to use one of my accounts, and here's what the customer support agent is going to see. So there are analytics, so there's an AI chat assistant. Everything is powered by Google ADK. Actually, we could potentially improve the color scheme here, but we can send the message and then you're going to see that it's asking for further information. Now, this is just one account for one customer support agent, and you can actually see all the details of that customer support agent. And on Clerk, there is a pretty nice dashboard where you can see different information related to your application. So if you're looking for user management and authentication, Clerk is an excellent application. Do check them out. Link is going to be in the video description. Okay, so this was my approach of how to use agent skills for providing new documentation to Claude Code to implement a feature. Now, this process can be tedious, but I think the initial implementation looks extremely promising. This is going to be extremely helpful if you have your own SOPs or standard operating procedures. So for example, if the company follows certain standards for code reviews, you can provide those to Claude Code. And if you want to learn more about agent skills, I also highly recommend to check out my previous video. Link is going to be in the description. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.